Dream of the Red Chamber, Chapter 55.
Okay, so imagine this. You're working at a massive conglomerate. I mean, a huge, sprawling organization.
Right.
Hundreds of employees, endless layers of bureaucracy, and the kind of internal politics that would make a diplomat sweat.
A whole ecosystem.
And for years, this whole place has been run by this one COO who is absolute dynamite. She's terrifying. She's brilliant. She micromanages everything down to the last paperclip.
And she keeps everyone in line just through sheer force of will.
Exactly. The entire system is just her.
She is the system.
But then disaster strikes. This superstar leader, she collapses. She's out of the game indefinitely. And the mood on the floor, the employees aren't panicked. They're thrilled.
They're thinking, finally.
Yes. The hawk is gone. The mice can play. You know, we can slack off. We can steal office supplies, come in late. They are ready to exploit this the second that power shifts.
It's the classic power vacuum scenario. And that's usually the moment where a company or a dynasty starts to crumble.
Right. So how do you fill that vacuum? How does a new, completely underestimated leadership team step in and establish authority when the workforce is actively trying to walk all over them?
And to find the answer, we are not looking at the Harvard Business Review.
Not today. We're looking at Dream of the Red Chamber, Chapter 55.
Which is such a rich text. People think of it as, a romance or a family drama, which it is. But this chapter, it's like a masterclass in crisis management.
Absolutely. Organizational Behavior 101. This power transition in the Rango house. A new team, who everyone thinks is weak, manages to crush a rebellion of lazy employees.
It's a fascinating case study in pivoting from, a personality cult to a systems-based management style.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Context is everything here. It's just after the Lantern Festival.
Usually a big party time.
Right? Firecrackers, the whole 9 yards. But the vibe in the house is grim. There's an imperial consort, Tai Fei, who is seriously ill. And because of her status, the government has imposed these strict austerity measures.
So no banquets, no music, no fun. Morale is already low.
It's oppressive. And right in the middle of all this gloom, the household manager, Wang Xifeng, everyone calls her Fengji, she collapses.
And we really need to look at the medical details the text gives us because they're basically a diagnosis of her management style.
It wasn't just a flu or something.
No, this was serious. The text says she had a small month, which, in the context of the time, is a euphemism for a miscarriage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was 6 or 7 months pregnant. But, and this is the key part, she didn't stop working. She is so obsessed with control, so terrified that if she steps away for a second, things will fall apart. She tried to power through it.
That's horrifying. But it's also, it's the ultimate hustle culture cautionary tale.
It is. She relied entirely on her own strength, refused to rest. And that led to what the text calls lower red, which implies a continuous hemorrhage.
Oof.
Yeah, dizziness, no appetite. She has completely burned herself out. The doctors step in and say, look, you cannot even think about working until August or September.
So that's a massive gap, 6 months minimum.
A huge void.
So you have Madame Wang, the matriarch, who suddenly loses her right-hand woman, and she can't handle this huge estate alone. It's just too big. So she has to appoint a temporary management team.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because on paper, this new team looks, weak.
To the servants, it looks like a joke.
Total joke. Madame Wang appoints a triad, basically.
Yep.
First, there's Li Wan. She's the widow of the eldest son.
And the text describes her as virtuous but not talented.
Right. Virtuous but not talented, which is a very polite, very Confucian way of saying she's a pushover.
She's going confrontation.
Exactly. In a management sense, she's lenient. She'd rather have a quiet life, so she just lets the servants do what they want. She's the nice boss who lets the department sink.
Okay, so that's leader number 1. Then you have Tanchun.
Tanchun is a young, unmarried daughter of the house. To the servants, she's just a kid.
And crucially, she's the daughter of a concubine Zhao.
Which, in the strict hierarchy of the house, puts her on shaky ground. She doesn't have the same built-in respect as a child of the primary wife, so the servants look at her and see a young girl with a lower status mother.
Not a threat.
Not a threat at all. And finally, Madame Wang brings in a sort of consultant,
Bao Chai,
a relative staying with them. And Madame Wang explicitly tells her, look, the servants are going to try to trick Li Wan and Tanchun. I need you to watch their backs.
So the stage is set. You have the nice pushover mom figure, the young intern, and the external consultant.
And the servants are looking at this lineup, and they're practically high-fiving each other.
The text says they were secretly delighted. They think Li Wan is thick and kind, which basically means she's easy to fool.
Mm-hmm.
And they think Tanchun is just a quiet, polite girl who won't say boo to a goose. They think the good times of gambling and drinking have returned.
It is a classic miscalculation. They're judging the new leadership by their personalities or what they think their personalities are, not their capabilities. They're assuming that because Tanchun is quiet,
She's weak, and they're about to learn a very hard lesson.
Oh, absolutely. Let's talk about the turn, because the party does not last long.
Not at all.
No, the source says that within just 3 or 4 days, the whole atmosphere shifts. And the new team makes this really smart strategic move right away. They change the venue.
Right. Fenji used to manage everything from her own room. It was personal. He had to go onto her turf.
Exactly. It was intimate, chaotic, and it all relied on her personal presence. Tanchun and Li Wan, they move operations to the Garden Gate South Hall.
I loved the description of this place. It's this 3-room hall that was used by eunuchs during the royal visit. It even has a plaque that says, Fu Ren Yu Day, assist benevolence, instruct virtue.
It sounds so formal.
Very high-minded. It signals a massive change in tone. They're moving from personality rule to institutional rule.
And they set office hours from Mao Zeng to Wu Zeng.
Which is what, 6 a.m. to noon?
6:00 a.m. to noon, so no more knocking on the boss's door at 3 p.m. to ask for a favor. If you have business, you come during business hours.
They're professionalizing the household.
They are, but despite the formal setup, the servants are still skeptical. But then the work starts. The text mentions this rush of external events, promotions, demotions, weddings, funerals among all the relatives.
It sounds like a bureaucratic nightmare. Just a mountain of paperwork.
It is, but they handle it. They divide and conquer. Tanchun and Li Wan handle the day-to-day administration in the hall. Bao Chai monitors the main house. And get this, here's a detail I think is crucial. They start doing night patrols.
Yes. This is such a great image. These 3 refined ladies, who usually wouldn't step outside without a whole retinue, they take a small sedan chair and go around checking on the night watch.
They are literally losing sleep to make sure no one else is sleeping on the job. It sends a powerful message. We are always watching.
You can't slack off just because the sun went down.
Right.
And this leads to my absolute favorite part of this excerpt, the servant's complaint. It perfectly encapsulates the change in culture.
Oh, it's a brilliant line.
The servants are grumbling in the background. They say, we just got rid of a sea-patrolling yaksha, only to be saddled with 3 mountain-suppressing taisuis.
That is so rich with cultural meaning. We really should unpack those terms for Arabs.
Please, what exactly is a yaksha?
A yaksha is a fierce, often malevolent nature spirit or demon. In mythology, they can be protectors, but they are scary. They're loud, dangerous, volatile. That was Fengji.
Okay.
If you crossed her, she'd scream at you, maybe hit you, dock your pay. She was a monster, but a monster you could see coming.
So Fengji is the demon. What's a taisui?
A taisui is much more intimidating conceptually. Taisui is the Grand Duke of Jupiter, a deity linked to the stars and time.
Yeah.
In Chinese astrology, you do not offend the taisui.
Why not?
If you clash with a taisui, you don't just get yelled at, you face inevitable misfortune. It implies a force that is immovable, cosmic, systematic.
So they're saying, Fengji was a thunderstorm scary, but it passes.
These 3.
These 3 are climate change.
They are the new reality.
Exactly. And the result is that the servants have absolutely no time left to gamble or drink. The loophole they thought they found, it's closed. The mountain-suppressing taisuis are everywhere.
But the real test of this new authority, it isn't just the night patrols. It comes in the form of a specific conflict. It's a case study in how to handle a subordinate who is testing you.
Right. This is the climax of the chapter. We have a servant, Wu Shindeng's wife.
Wu Zhending's wife. She sounds like a character.
She is. She's an experienced manager of domestic affairs. She knows the rule book inside and out. And she comes in to report a death.
Zhao Guoji, the brother of concubine Zhao, has died.
Now, context is everything here. We need to remind everyone. Concubine Zhao is Tanchun's biological mother.
Correct. Which makes the man who died, Zhao Guoji, Tanchun's biological uncle.
So this is a total minefield. If Tanchun gives him a big payout, everyone says, oh, look, she's corrupt. She's favoring her mother's family. If she gets too little, her own mother will be furious and say she's being unfilial and heartless.
It is a trap, and Wu Zhending's wife knows it. If she were reporting this to Fengji, she would have come prepared. She would have said, this person died, here's the precedent, here are the options. Because with Fengji, you did not want to look stupid.
But she doesn't do that with the new team.
No. She walks into the hall, states the fact, Zhao Guoji died, and then just stands there, silent.
Malicious compliance. She's waiting for them to make a mistake.
Precisely. She is withholding information to see if the new managers will embarrass themselves. And at first, it works.
That's when
Li Wan, the virtuous but not talented one, she falls right into it. She wants to be helpful, be fair. She remembers that recently another servant's mother died, Jiren's mother, and they paid out 40 taels of silver, so she says, oh, just pay him 40 taels like we did for Jiren's mom.
Oh, no.
And watch what Wu Xindeng's wife does. She immediately says yes, grabs the approval slip, and tries to bolt. She wants to lock in that mistake.
Because if they pay the wrong amount, the new managers look incompetent and the servants gain leverage. All the new bosses don't know the rules. Great, we can exploit that.
Exactly.
But Tanchun catches it. She shouts, wait, come back. Don't pay yet.
This is the pivotal moment. Tanchun steps out of that quiet girl role and becomes the executive. She asks a policy question. She asks about the distinction between a domestic servant and an outside servant.
She asks, what is the standard payout for old aunts inside the house versus those outside? Why does that distinction matter?
In the hierarchy of the household, servants who worked inside the main house had different contracts and benefits than those working on the external grounds. It's like the difference between a salaried HQ employee and a contractor.
Okay.
Tanchun knows there's a difference in the benefits package.
And Wu Xindeng's wife tries to play it off. She says, I forgot. Then she adds this incredibly passive-aggressive line. It's not a big deal. Who would dare argue with you about the amount?
Which is such a manipulative thing to say.
Yeah.
She's trying to bait Tanchun into acting arbitrarily. She's saying, you're the master, just pick a number, flex your power, who cares about the rules?
She wants Tanchun to act like a yaksha, to
That-
act on a whim.
Exactly. But Tanchun does not take the bait. Instead, she gets angry. She scolds her. She says, you have been handling these affairs for years. To say you forgot is ridiculous. You are trying to trick us. You want us to look bad compared to Fengji.
She sees right through it. She just puts the cards on the table. I know what you're doing.
And then she does something that every modern manager should take note of. She calls for the data. Bring me the old ledgers.
Don't guess. Audit.
Exactly. Wu Xindeng's wife has to go get the old account books. She has no choice. And when they open them up, the data tells a very clear story.
What do the ledgers say?
The ledgers show that for domestic servants, those who work inside the house, the payout is 20 taels. For outside servants, it's 40.
So Li Wan's guess of 40 was wrong because she was mixing up the categories. She was applying the outside rate to a domestic servant.
Exactly. But Tanchun digs deeper. She sees there were exceptions in the past. Some people got 100 taels, some got 60.
And this is where the servant might say, see, it varies. You can pay what you want.
But Tanchun reads the footnotes. That is the refined and detailed part of her character. She sees that the 60 taels was for someone moving a coffin across provinces' travel expenses. The 100 taels was for buying land. There were specific documented reasons for the extra money.
And her uncle, Zhao Guoji.
Zhao Guoji was a domestic servant living nearby. No travel, no land purchase, no extenuating circumstances.
So despite him being her own uncle,
Tanchun rules, give him 20 taels.
ouch.
Yeah.
Half of what Li Wan suggested, that is cold.
It feels cold, but it was necessary. She proves 3 things instantly. 1, she cannot be tricked. 2, she relies on data, not sentiment or nepotism. And 3, she's actually more rigorous than the old administration.
I love the reaction of the other servants in the room. The text says the women stuck out their tongues.
It is that universal gesture of, whoa, she got busted. It signifies shock and submission. They realize Tanchun isn't a child, she's a shark. Wu Xindeng's wife leaves with a red face.
It's such a satisfying takedown.
Yeah.
But I have to imagine this caused some drama with her biological mother, Concubine Zhao.
Oh, massive drama. We don't have time to go into the full fallout, but Concubine Zhao is furious. She feels Tanchun betrayed her family to save a few coins for the main house.
But for Tanchun, this was never about the money.
Never. It was about the integrity of the system. If she breaks the rules for her uncle, she loses the moral authority to govern the hundreds of other servants.
She sacrifices her relationship with her mother to save the institution.
She does. It's tragic, but effective.
It really highlights the difference in leadership styles. We keep coming back to this yaksha versus taisui idea. Fengji, the yaksha, ruled by fear and personal brilliance. If you crossed her, she destroyed you. But Tanchun, she's the taisui. She rules by the system, she rules by the ledger.
And that is a crucial distinction for anyone interested in organizational behavior. Fengji's style is flashy. It looks like strong leadership, but it's fragile. When she gets sick, the system collapses because she is the system.
Right.
Tanchun, Li Wan, and Bao Chai are building a structure that can function based on rules.
They professionalize the household, they set up an office, they set hours, they rely on written records. It's less exciting than a screaming match, maybe,
Yeah.
but it's way more sustainable.
It is. The servants missed the good old days of Fengji, not because she was nicer, she wasn't, but because her personal style left cracks they could exploit. If you caught Fengji on a good day, or if you flattered her, maybe you got away with something. With Tanchun and the ledger, there is no wiggle room. 20 taels is 20 taels. The math doesn't care if you flatter it.
So, and the first person who tries to sabotage her, like right out of the gate, it's her own mother.
In the world of Chinese literature, Tanchun, she's arguably one of the most competent leaders in all of fiction.
And this chapter is her trial by fire.
It really is. It's a masterclass in crisis leadership, forensic accounting, and navigating what I would call toxic stakeholder management.
Toxic stakeholder management is a very diplomatic way of putting it. It's more like your family trying to emotionally blackmail you into embezzlement.
That's a blunter way to say it, yeah.
But we need to explain why her position is so shaky. I think the family tree here is really important.
It's crucial. This is where the whole feudal structure comes in. So you have the main wife, Madame Wang. Legally, she's the mother to all the children, no matter who actually gave birth to them.
Right. And then you have the concubines.
And Tanchun is the biological daughter of a concubine Zhao.
Which puts her in a really tough spot.
A very weird limbo. Because in the house's hierarchy, a concubine is technically a servant, a half-master at best. So Tanchun has the title of young mistress, but her birth mother is a widely disliked employee.
So she's trying to manage people who've known her since she was a toddler, and her own mom is basically a disgruntled employee in the organization she's now running.
Exactly. And the servants are all watching, thinking, oh, she's just a shy, unmarried girl. Her mom's a nobody. This will be easy. They are ready to raid the treasury.
So Tanchun sits down at the desk, day one, and the first challenge walks right through the door, and it's personal.
It's her biological mother, Zhao Yinyang.
And she doesn't come in quietly.
No, the text says she comes in wailing, crying that everyone is stepping on her. She uses this metaphor that she's been boiling like oil in this house for years.
She's playing the victim card, hard. But what's the actual issue? What's the specific problem?
It comes down to money and respect. Her brother, Zhao Guoji, has just died. And because he was technically a servant of the family, the estate owes a funeral payout.
Okay, that sounds pretty standard, like an HR policy.
It is standard. But Zhao Yinyang wants more than the standard amount. Her logic is basically, my daughter's in charge now, you've got the checkbook, you have to help us.
She's expecting nepotism.
Yay.
Plain and simple. It's our turn to get a little extra.
Exactly. She's thinking emotionally, show me you respect me by giving me more money. But Tanchun knows. She knows everyone is watching this first move. If she breaks the rules for her mom, it's over before it even started.
So what does she do? A weaker person would just, give her the extra cash to make her stop screaming.
But Tanchun doesn't, and I love what she does. She doesn't fight emotion with emotion, she fights it with data.
She brings the receipts?
Literally, she physically pulls out the account book, the ledger. The text shows her flipping through the pages, looking for the precedent.
And she finds it.
She finds it, and she reads it out loud for everyone to hear. A few years back, another concubine's relative died. The payout was exactly 20 taels of silver.
So she's saying, look, this isn't me. This is the policy.
Yeah.
This is the ancestral rule.
Precisely. She tells her mother, if I change this, I am disrespecting the main family. She's drawing a hard line between her personal feelings and her professional duty.
But it's not like she's being cold about it. This is the gut-wrenching part. She's not a robot.
Not at all. And that's the key. She's weeping through this whole confrontation. She's heartbroken that her own mother is the one trying to sabotage her.
And then the mother, Zhao Yinyang, she realizes she's losing, so she throws this low blow.
The uncle debate.
Yes. She says, your uncle just died and you won't even help.
Which is such a cultural landmine. When Zhao says your uncle, she means her brother, Tanchun's biological uncle. To us, that seems obvious.
But Tanchun snaps back. She says, who is my uncle?
It sounds so brutal, but she's asserting the legal feudal hierarchy. Legally, her mother is Madame Wang, the main wife.
So her only uncles are Madame Wang's brothers.
Who are powerful government officials, not servants. Tanchun basically says, my uncles are high-ranking inspectors. Zhao Guoji is just a servant of the house.
Wow. So she has to verbally disown her own blood relative to maintain her authority.
It's a survival tactic. She's signaling to everyone in that room that her loyalty is to the system, to the institution, not to her biological family.
It works, but the psychological cost must be huge.
Yeah.
And she says something later that just defines her whole character.
The "if I were a man" speech.
She says, if I were a man, I could go out and build a career. But because I'm a girl, I'm trapped here.
It's the tragedy of her life. She's brilliant, she's capable, but she's stuck fighting these petty battles over 20 taels of silver because that's all society allows her.
So she wins. She holds the line. The internal threat is defeated, but it's not over.
Not at all. Just as she's wiping her tears, an external player walks in, Pinger arrives.
And Pinger is Wang Xifeng's right-hand woman, her chief of staff.
She comes in with a message from the sick boss.
And the message is basically a trap, isn't it?
It's a very subtle test. Pinger says, the boss knows you might feel awkward about the rules. The standard is 20 taels, but...
But since you're in charge, you can add a little more if you want.
Think about that. The Iron Lady is giving her permission to break the rules. Go ahead, buy some peace with your mom, I'll cover for you.
And Tanchun sees right through it. Instantly.
She rejects it immediately. She realizes that if she takes that offer, she looks weak, like she needs Xifeng's permission. Or even worse, that she's using company money to buy popularity.
She says something like, your master is clever. She wants to be the good person with money that isn't hers.
It's a brilliant analysis of the power dynamics. She refuses to be the nice guy at the expense of the budget. She sticks to the 20 taels.
Which proves she's not just being stubborn with her mom, she's principled with everyone.
Exactly. And that earns her respect. But the servants, the ones who run the daily operations, they still think they can pull a fast one.
Right. They think, okay, she's tough, but she doesn't know the nitty-gritty.
Which brings us to the face-washing incident.
This scene is so good. Tanchun is just exhausted. She's emotionally drained from the fight with her mom. She sits down to wash her face and compose herself.
It's a moment of total vulnerability. Pinger is helping her, rolling up her sleeves, and right in the middle of it, a servant wife just barges in.
Has no eyes, as the text says.
Yeah.
No respect. She doesn't even wait for Tanchun to finish.
And she blurts out this request for money. It's such a power play. She's basically saying, you're not really a master, just sign this so I can go.
And the request sounds legitimate. It's for an annual school allowance for her brother and nephew.
8 taels. A small amount. If you're a new manager, you're tired, you're emotional, you just sign it to get them out of your hair.
But Tanchun doesn't. She
Yeah.
pauses, towel in hand, and she just asks, how much?
The servant says, 8 taels. And this is where Tanchun's genius really shows. She doesn't just look at the request, she looks at the whole system.
She starts doing the math in her head, out loud.
She cross-references the payroll. She says, wait a minute, the boys already get a monthly allowance for school supplies.
Quan gets 2 taels. Lon gets money from his mother.
So she asks the servant, what is this extra 8 taels for?
And the servant starts stammering, for snacks, paper, brushes.
And that's the aha moment. Tanchun realizes it's a double dip.
It's a legacy cost, a redundancy.
It's basically fraud. The servants have been pocketing this extra cash for years because nobody ever bothered to check the books.
Tanchun just says, from now on, this item is canceled. Cuts it. Done.
She tells Pinger to report it to Xifeng,
Right.
and then she calls out the servant directly. She says, you thought because I'm a quiet young lady you could trick me.
She did a forensic audit while washing her face.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And notice the strategy. With her mom, she used policy. With the servants, she uses logic and efficiency. She fights the right battle with the right weapon.
She can't be blackmailed, and she can't be tricked. So let's look at the fallout. Pinger goes outside where all the other servants are waiting and gossiping.
Yeah, this is the water cooler moment. They're all grumbling, wow, she's tougher than we thought.
And Pinger, she just sets them straight. She warns them.
She uses that great metaphor, you are hitting a stone with an egg. And then she reveals something really fascinating.
What's that?
She tells them that even Wang Xifeng, the terrifying boss they all live in fear of, is actually afraid of Tanchun.
She respects her 5 parts, right? Which is a lot. Why? Tanchun doesn't scream or punish people like Xifeng does.
Well, it's the difference between fear and competence. Xifeng rules by being cruel. Tanchun rules by being right.
Pinger says Tanchun doesn't speak much, but when she does, she hits the mark.
Exactly. Xifeng knows you can't lie to Tanchun. You can't trick her. Pinger tells the servants, you bully her because she's respectful and quiet. If you were a loud, crazy person, you'd be scared of her.
That's such a great insight into management. The quiet, competent leaders often get tested way more than the loud, aggressive ones.
So when you push them, the pushback is so much more effective. Tanchun didn't fire the servant. She just eliminated her illegal revenue stream.
She hit her in the wallet. That hurts more than yelling.
And the servants get it. They back down. Within, what, 24 hours? She turns that chaotic power vacuum into a regime of just absolute silence.
It is a stunning transformation. And, we usually talk about the poetry or the romance in this book. But this chapter, this is a straight-up case study in crisis management.
The servants are basically ready to riot. The whole thing with the maid, Kiwen.
Right. And Kiwen isn't just any maid. She serves Bao Yu, the golden boy of the family.
So she feels untouchable.
She had proximity power, exactly. If you serve the favorite grandson, you think you can get away with anything. So she just strolls into the office to ask about wages.
But it's how she does it. She doesn't stand and wait. She tries to sit down on the personal bedding of Pinger, Xifeng's right-hand woman.
It's such a subtle power move. Invading personal space, cutting the line, acting casual.
And Pinger just shuts it down instantly.
She doesn't just say, get up. She says, do you want to die?
Wow.
Yeah. She warns her that Tanchun is, she's basically hunting. The text says Tanchun is looking for a recognizable pattern. She needs to make an example of someone to prove the old rules are still in effect.
That's so interesting because a new leader would normally try to win people over first, do a listening tour.
She doesn't have time for a listening tour. She needs compliance now. And Pinger explains that Xifeng's orders were clear. Whatever Tanchun says goes, even if it contradicts what Xifeng used to do.
So Xifeng basically handed her a loaded gun and said, feel free to use this.
And Quinn gets it immediately. She panics. She realizes she almost became that example. She just bolts, terrified of hitting the nail.
But the moment that really shows the shift from chaos to order for me is that lunch scene.
The lunch scene is masterful.
Yeah.
And it's all about sound.
Or the lack of it. I mean, usually a meal in a house with hundreds of people is loud, gossip, dishes clattering.
Total chaos.
But when Tanchun sits down, the text emphasizes there isn't a single sound. Not a bowl clicking, not a chopstick tapping, just silence.
It's weaponized silence.
Why does that work, though? How does making people quiet make them obedient?
Because it takes away the space where rebellion usually happens. The whispers, the eye rolling, the little delays in serving tea.
Right. It forces them to be hyper-aware of everything they're doing. The text even says the servants are whispering to each other, warning against having conscienceless ideas.
Exactly. They get it. The game has changed. Tanchun isn't a placeholder. She's actually more strict than Xifeng was. Xifeng ruled by personality. Tanchun is ruling by the system.
Okay, so Tanchun has control. She's established her authority. Now, if I'm Wang Xifeng, sick in bed, and I hear my replacement is doing a better job, I'd feel threatened. Xifeng is not someone who likes rivals.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
But when Pinger reports back, Xifeng is just ecstatic. She's yelling, good, good, excellent third girl.
Is that real? Or is she just relieved someone else is dealing with the mess?
I think it's complicated. On one level, Xifeng just respects pure competence. She sees a bit of herself in Tanchun, but then the conversation turns darker.
Yeah, she starts talking about Tanchun's future, the whole Shu versus Zhang thing.
Right, the birth status. Zhang means born of the main wife, and Shu means born of a concubine. Tanchun is Shu.
Which in the 18th century marriage market is a huge problem.
It's a disaster. And Xifeng says something really sharp here. She says that talent should matter, but the world is stupid. She predicts that other families will look at Tanchun's low-status mother and just pass on her.
It's such a tragic waste of talent. Here's this natural-born CEO, and she's probably going to be married off to some nobody because of who her mom is.
And Xifeng is genuinely frustrated by it. She says any smart family would realize Tanchun is 100 times better than a legitimate daughter. It's one of the few times Xifeng critiques the system that put her on top. She sees how inefficient it is.
But I feel like there's another layer to her support for Tanchun. It's not just admiration.
Oh, absolutely not. It's desperation.
Yeah, the admiration is the surface. Underneath, it's just sheer panic.
Because right after praising her, the mask comes off. She starts talking to Pinger about the family finances. And she uses that phrase. She says she's riding a tiger.
Which is a terrifying image.
It means you can't get off or it'll eat you. She can't stop the spending, the fancy parties, or the family loses face and collapses. But if she keeps going, they're going to run out of money.
She actually breaks it down number by number, and the numbers they're hard to grasp. She says they need dowries for 3 or 4 girls, at around, 7,000 to 8,000 silver taels each?
Each. And to put that in perspective, A regular servant in that house might make 6 taels a year.
So 8,000 taels is
It's over 1,000 years of wages for a normal person for one wedding. And she needs to pay for 3 or 4 of them.
That's just staggering.
And then there are the weddings for the boys, another few thousand each. And the big one looming is the old matriarch's funeral. That's going to cost thousands more in just incidentals.
So she's staring down a liability sheet of tens of thousands of taels, and the income just isn't there anymore.
The income is shrinking. She explains her trap perfectly. If she tries to save money, the whole family calls her stingy and cruel. They hate her for it. But if she doesn't save money, they go bankrupt.
So she's trapped between being the villain or being a failure.
Exactly. And that changes everything about why she supports Tanchun. She doesn't just admire her. She needs an ally. She needs someone else to be the bad cop for a while.
So she does this, what she calls a talent audit. She goes through the whole family roster to see who could possibly help her, and it is brutal.
It's a roast session.
Yeah.
But you can feel her isolation. She realizes she's the only adult in the room.
She starts with the main character, Yu, the family's great hope.
Dismissed. Instantly. Not the material for this. He's useless for management.
Okay, what about Li Wan, the widow who's technically co-managing with Tanchun?
She calls her a Buddha. And it's not a compliment. She means Li Wan is passive, a statue. She's too nice to make the hard calls.
And the other brilliant cousins, Yu and Baochai.
Yu she calls a beauty lamp.
A beauty lamp.
It's perfect, really.
Yeah.
Beautiful, bright, but fragile. A slight breeze and it just goes out. Yu's too emotionally volatile for this kind of work.
And Baochai seems competent.
Very competent. But Xifeng says she operates on a don't ask, don't tell policy. She protects herself. She won't get her hands dirty with the Jia family's mess.
Then we get to the insults that are actually funny. She talks about the younger boys, Jia Huan and Jia Lan.
She calls them singed little frozen cats.
It's such a specific, cruel image.
A pathetic little cat, frozen stiff, just looking for a warm stove. It means they're cowards. They have no spine.
So after all that, she's left with one person.
Only Tanchun. She's the only one with the heart and mouth, the courage, and the ability to do the job.
And Xifeng realizes that Tanchun's difficult upbringing with her mother has actually made her tough.
It gave her grit. So Xifeng decides on a strategy. She's going to back Tanchun completely. But it's how she does it that is so clever. She tells Pinger that Tanchun is going to come after her. After Xifeng.
The catch the king strategy.
Exactly. Capture the thief, capture the king. Tanchun can't just pick on a maid to establish her power. To really prove she's in charge, she has to take on the biggest target.
Which is Wang Xifeng.
Right. If Tanchun contradicts some rule made by the Iron Phoenix herself and gets away with it, that sends a message to everyone.
So Xifeng gives Pinger an order. When this happens, do not defend me.
Strategic surrender.
Okay.
It's brilliant. She tells Pinger to let Tanchun win publicly, let her have the authority. By taking a hit to her own ego, she empowers Tanchun to do the dirty work of cutting costs.
But here's the twist. Pinger just laughs. She says she already did it.
This is why Pinger is the secret MVP of this whole book. Just says, I knew you were going to say that. She anticipated the entire strategy before Xifeng even explained it.
It shows she's not just an assistant. She's a partner. She understands the game just as well as Xifeng does.
And you can feel the intimacy in their conversation. They have this playful banter.
Yeah.
It's the only time in the chapter you feel Xifeng actually relax.
Because she's finally talking to someone who gets it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone else is a frozen cat or a beauty lamp. Pinger is her partner in crime.
So we're left with this picture of a temporary turnaround. Tanchun is in control. The servants are obedient. Xifeng is supporting her from the shadows. It feels almost hopeful.
It feels efficient. Hopeful, I think, might be stretching it a bit.
Why do you say that?
Because of the scale of the problem Xifeng laid out earlier.
Yeah.
Tanchun can make lunch quieter. She can cut the budget for hair oil.
Right.
But can she magically conjure up 30,000 silver taels for all the weddings and funerals they know are coming?
Discipline isn't revenue.
Precisely. You can't spreadsheet your way out of a structural deficit that massive. And that's the haunting part of the chapter.
The final image really captures that feeling too. After all the high-level strategy, we zoom in on Xifeng eating her dinner.
Yeah, it's not some grand banquet. She's eating sick person's food. A little porridge, a couple of salty dishes, and Pinger is eating beside her, half standing.
It's so quiet. After all that talk about tigers and power and thousands of tails, it's just two exhausted women eating porridge.
It really underscores how fragile it all is. Xifeng is the most powerful woman in this world, and she's reduced to this. And she knows that even with her own brilliance and with Tanchun's fresh energy, the math just doesn't work.